Happy New Year! On the Run is back. See you on the other side of the plane.
Run.
Well, hello everybody and greetings from Melbourne, Australia, and we're here in my yard at my house in Melbourne. Very nice, pleasant place to be, and Happy New Year. This is the first on the run for the year. Is the microphone on? Better check. It is. Good. And I hope the light is okay. It seems to be all right. So anyway, welcome one and all to the very first On the Run for the year. For me, it's late in the afternoon of the 4th of January down here in Melbourne. For you, it'll be the morning of Friday the 5th of January. And IAG has been off since the 15th of December, and then we just got back on the 2nd of January. So today's our third day back. For you, it'll be the fourth day. And we kicked the year off with a story that I wrote over the break, which was 24 people to watch in 2024. Although it wasn't 24, it was 28 because I couldn't get it down to 24. But I hope you enjoyed that story. I think over 2,000 people read it, which has grown 2,000 page views anyway. And I have to apologise, when it first was uploaded it wasn't quite finished. Talk about media being a just-in-time industry. This one wasn't in time, and in fact we added Jim Murren live while it was uploaded, and we added all the links. So if you read it quite early on the 2nd, on Tuesday, you might want to go back and read it again because it's a little bit better now. It's been edited on the website. Anyway, let's move on with the top 8 of this week. We'll call it week, but really it's the gap since mid-December, while the IAG team had a very well-deserved break. So now let's go for number 8 at the bottom. We're going to do this in geography. So let's start with Japan. So Japan rejected the Nagasaki IR over financing uncertainties and casino operations experience concerns. That was the official logic from Japan. But as regular readers of IAG and IAG Japan, when we had IAG Japan actively running from January 19 to January 21 or 2, can't remember, you'll know that we were no fans of the Casino Austria Nagasaki bid. We thought the Oshidori bid was far superior, and it was a real I don't even want to say head scratcher. It was much more than a head scratcher. Didn't make any sense why they picked Casinos Austria, other than we don't like China. And because Oshidori, even though it sounds Japanese, was a Chinese company. That's the only reason I could find. I thought their bid was excellent. Anyway, let's not go into that. So the Japanese government, the central government, has rejected it. Maybe they read a bit of IAG and a bit of IAG in Japanese. Who knows? But they've rejected it. And Bill Hornbuckle must be loving this. Now he's got the monopoly. So MGM in Osaka will be the only integrated resort, the only casino gaming establishment in Japan, unless something emerges between now and them opening up, which is slated for 2030. It is possible that a dark horse may emerge. Maybe the most likely could be Hard Rock in Hokkaido. They've been always hanging around, and they're keen, and they're a pretty good outfit, led by Ed Tracy, who's done a good job and did a good job with Sands China quite a few years ago now. So let's see what happens in Japan. Okay, number 7, the CCC, which is the Commonwealth Casino Commission, I think it is. Anyway, it's the Saipan regulator. They have now finally set a date for the IPI license revocation hearing, and that date is January 31, the last day of this month. Again, regular readers of IAG will be following this story. IPI, what a mess. What a mess, Mr. Hart, if any of you Australians remember that ad from many years ago, from decades ago. What a mess, and they owe $62 million to the regulator. They deny it. They say force majeure event with the pandemic. Anyway, the long and the short of it all is that the project is stalled and has been stalled for many years. It's not going to be finished. It's all going to fall over. It's very obvious. And the big question here is not whether they're going to get their license revoked or not. I think it's pretty obvious that they are. The big question is what's going to happen to that half-finished building. So will someone pick it up for a song and do something with it? What will happen to the idea of gaming in the Northern Marianas Islands? Will it become an iGaming jurisdiction? It is America. It is American soil. It doesn't belong to a state, but it is American soil. So that's an interesting one. Number 6, next one. The Philippines, the Department of Tourism Chief Christina Frasco came out and said, we are targeting 7.7 million tourists in 2024, which is incredible. They got 5.5 million in 2023. They did get 8.2 million in 2019. So the Philippines is going gangbusters and getting back to its pre-pandemic levels. I shouldn't say tourists, I should say international arrivals. Actually, about 8% of international arrivals into the Philippines are Filipinos returning from working overseas. There's a huge Filipino diaspora, as many of you will know, of overseas workers. The biggest feeder market is Korea, 26%, not China anymore. Korea, 26%, USA, 17%. I think foreign Filipinos is next at 8%. And if I remember correctly, Japan is 6%, Australia is 5%, China last year was 5%, and then there's the rest, which make up, I think, 33%, all the other countries put together. So it's a very big, diverse feeder market for the Philippines, but Koreans number one. What do they say? A majority but not a plurality or something. In other words, the biggest number but not 50%. Next on the list we've got, IAG released the Power 50 official video for the Power 50 event, which of course was held on the 3rd of November, yes, the 3rd, at MGM Grand in Macau, on Macau side. So you can go and check out that video by going to iagpower50.com or going to IAG's YouTube site. IAG does have a YouTube site. We've never promoted it very much. We've only got about 1,200 subscribers, but we're going to start to build that up. So please go and subscribe to our YouTube site. And stay tuned for 2024, which will be the 17th Power 50. Stay tuned for some very exciting news about 2024 Power 50. We'll be in November, of course, but we'll be making some announcements quite soon, and it's going to be different and interesting and unusual, and you're going to love it. So stay tuned for that. Next in the list, can't remember what number we're up to, but next in the list is the Junkets, the DICJ licenses Junkets every January. They only licensed 18, which was exactly 50% of last year's number of 36. The year before was 46. The year before that was 85. The year before that was about 100. And the year before, the peak was 2013, 235, if I'm not mistaken, licensed junkets. So the number of junkets in Macau has gone from 235 down to less than 10% of that number. Now 18 licensed junkets. So what's that? That's got to be about 7% of what it was. And we all know what's happened to the junket industry and how it's been decimated. We know the stories of Alvin Chow and Li Wu Chan. So I'm not going to rehash that. But junkets are pretty much down and out. Now, next in our list was the New Year's number of visitation, which was 399,000 people over the 3 days, December 30, December 31 and January 1. So obviously that's an average of 133,000 per day. The biggest day was New Year's Eve, December 31, which was 175,000. And that happened to be the biggest day for the entire 2023 year. The average number of tourists to arrive in Macau during the before the pandemic, so 2019, was 108,000 per day was the average. The average last year in 2023 was 77,000 per day. So obviously about 70%, I think it was 71% of the pre-pandemic level, but they're definitely betting more per person, because if you do the sums, you can work out that, in fact, let's do that by going to the next story. So we'll go to the next story and then we'll do those sums. So the next story, which is number 1 on the list, was the GGR for 2023, and it came in at 183.1 billion Macau patakas, which is 22.9, 180 is 90, 45, 22 and a half. April 3 is 0.4, 22.9 billion US dollars. So nearly 23, let's call it 23. What's 100 million between friends? 23 billion US dollars. Now this compares to 2019, which was 36 and a half. I think it was 36.3 from memory, 36.3 billion US dollars. So it's come in at 63% of 2019, but of course we've lost VIP. We've lost a huge amount of VIP, and that is low margin revenue. So the EBITDA is a hell of a lot more than 63% of what it was, that's for sure. Well, certainly by the end of the year it was. Now, let's do some sums here. In 2019, 46% of the revenue was mass, 46% was VIP and 54% was mass. So 46% let's do 54% of 36.3 is just under 20. I think it's 19.6 billion was the mass in 2019, and the mass this year was, well, pretty much all of it, 22.9 billion, which is 117%. Now, okay, there's a few flaws with my calculations. First of all, if you go to the DICJ numbers, about 20% of it is VIP, but it's not really VIP, and I will do a story another day about why it's not really VIP. Basically, that's just the number for tables that the casinos are paying 300,000 MOP a year rather than 150,000 MOP a year to the government for, that were previously designated as VIP, and they don't want to swap them to mass. They're happy to leave it at a fee of 300,000 MOP a year, so that they've got the flexibility to make them VIP. So the way the DICJ counts it is that any table not accessible completely to the public, any table that's in a room somewhere that's not totally accessible, counts as VIP. Well, we all know that's not really true now, because there's a lot of premium direct, there's a lot of sort of high level mass, whatever you want to call it. So this sort of number that they're coming up with at the moment of about 20% VIP, it's not 20%. It's more down in the teens. For some of the concessionaires, I think it's under 10%. For some of the concessionaires, the biggest concessionaire for VIP, it may be up around the high teens. So I think it is probably somewhere around maybe 12 or 13% would be my guess. So there's some interesting statistics and thinking about the numbers. But look, Macau is back. That's a great result. And of course, the main point of it being 183.1 is it triggered the 20%. What do I mean by that? I think many of you will know that in the concession agreements that were signed on the 16th of December, I think it was the 16th of December 2022, the 6 concessionaires all agreed to certain commitment levels of investment in gaming and non-gaming. Almost all of it was non-gaming. Combined, it came to 109 billion patakas between the 6 operators, but they all agreed that if a certain trigger event occurred, that they would all increase it by 20%. Or if the trigger event occurred in the first 5 years of the 10-year concession, and then the 6th year it was 16%, the 7th year it was 12%, the 8th year it was 8%, the 9th year it was 4%, and if it was in the 10th year it was 0%. And that would be the uplift in the spending on the non-gaming. So that's been triggered. So that 109 billion, up it by 20%, folks. So there's going to be a lot of money spent on non-gaming in this decade. 1 year down, 9 to go. 1 year and 4 days down, or 1 year and 5 days for you down. 8 years and 360 days to go. 8 years and 361 days to go, because 2024 is of course a leap year. Okay, so that's it. That's the top 8 from me in lovely Melbourne. A little bit of a breeze going here. I hope that didn't mess up the audio too much. What else do I need to tell you? Oh, my travel. Look, I'm staying in Australia for most of January. I haven't been down here for a long time. For a long time. I've been down here for a short time, but it's been a long time since I've been down here for a long time. So I need to spend quite a few weeks here and go to different cities in Australia, catch up with some different people. Australia is of course part of the coverage area of IAG, and I'll be catching up with some of the leaders of the industry while I'm down here, doing some personal stuff as well, meeting some friends and all of that sort of jazz, and then back to a quick stop in Asia, very quick, and then on to ICE, of course, in London, the last year of ICE in London, February 6, 7, 8. The IAG team will be there, 5 of us there, and of course our strategic partners, CDC Gaming, will also be there, and we'll be hanging out with them, just as we did at G2E in October last year, but of course it's neutral territory in London. And then I'm actually going to pop down to Cyprus and take a look at COD Mediterranean. I'd love to see that. And I also want to get to Inspire, which is now open, of course. No gaming yet, but hopefully the gaming does open by the time I get there. And then back to Macau eventually, perhaps 3rd week of February, something like that. There's going to be a long trip out of Macau. But I had spent quite a bit of time in Macau towards the end of last year. So that's the travel plans. All right, well, have a great 2024. Happy New Year again. Lots of health and wealth and happiness to you and your families. And I will see you next week for On the Run. That's me out for now, and see you next week. Bye for now. See ya.
Run.